Are Ipswich back on track? Also, a big thank you to Big Cam Burgess for his goals. I knew he still loved the town. Welcome back to Where the Town Walk with myself, Luke, and alongside me, we've got Rich and Ian talking all things Ipswich, including this week's A to Z and tweet of the week. Ian, a positive week all in all?
Yeah, it didn't maybe start off as positive for that Watford game. But yeah, finished on a high. So if you're one of the lucky fans who got away tickets this year, which is really difficult to, you've been spoiled. 8 goals for, 2 against. You can't complain there, can you?
No, not at all. Let's get into the Swansea game then, Ian. It was Rich, sorry. It was a good result. I mean, I don't know what the performance. It was okay, but the result 4-1. We can't complain away from home.
No, I think when we hadn't won for quite a long time, and then you get 2 away wins on the bounce, like Ian says, you score 8 goals and you can see 2. You've got to be happy, Luke. And I thought the performance yesterday was pretty decent. First half, there wasn't a lot happening really. I thought we were in control. I see a stat last night that Swansea only touched the ball twice in our penalty area in the first half. And obviously their fans weren't very happy with the ref because I think he'd booked 4 of their players. And then a little bit of magic from Jack Clarke. That's what he can do. If you're going to leave him sort of on his right foot from 20, 25 yards, Luke, I think with a free shot at goal, I think that's going to happen because we've seen it plenty of times, probably obviously for Sunderland, but he's done it a few times for Town. And we were pretty much in control, but then we always have a mad 10 minutes somewhere, don't we? And we make things difficult for ourselves.
Yeah, we really do. Let's touch on the goal, Ian. It's come quite a few times the same type of goal, isn't it? That sort of cut back into between the penalty spot and the 18-yard box. For the goal against Swansea, it seemed like everyone was just ball watching, but it happens time and time again. Whether we need, again, I'm going to say this until the cows come home, that maybe if we had another midfielder in there, it might stop it. But it's definitely an area that we need to look at defensively.
Yeah, there's this. It's almost like a disconnect between our back 4 and our 2 midfielders. And it's interesting because with the 4-2-3 setup, we should be all over this. We should be defending with 6 players, winning possession with 5 players, and attacking with 6. And that's how it should work. And I think the key difference for me this Saturday has been when we had to gain possession, we were swarming Swansea with all 5, both Matisiwa, Taylor, Kayuse, whoever's in there, then across the middle, the other 3. Together, they were swarming on loose balls, and it really made a difference. It gave us that real momentum in suddenly going forward. And that's great going forward on attack, but we've got to work on that in the transition back into defence as well now. So, defend from the front starts with Hurst and the number 10. Then, the 5 of them in the middle have got to defend together as a team. And we've noticed that when Kayuse is in there, he sometimes drifts off and he leaves, Matisiwa kind of exposed maybe on his own, and it then pulls one of our back 4 out of position to cover for that now gap. And we've seen it where Furlong's had to step across the park and we've been exposed at right back. And it is one of these things you can work on in training. That's the good thing. And you can see the improvements coming. Doesn't help with obviously keep changing the starting 11 because you do need to build those relationships up. But again, I'll always defer to Kieran McKenna on team selection.
Yeah, definitely. We will discuss the changes again this week. But yeah, like you say, who are we to question McKenna? Rich, it was a bit of a sad day for big old Cam Burgess on his first game against us. It was sad to see, but obviously we should have kept him for our number 9. I mean, he's 2 goals.
Prolific, isn't he? I think he's is he about a 4th top scorer? I see he's on the list, isn't he? He's in there. Look, you got to feel sorry for him. He was excellent for us, Luke. I think I was quite a big critic of him even when he was in League One. I thought he might struggle in the Championship. I think he was probably one of the most improved players for me under McKenna. You think he came in from Accrington and he was just a big 6'4" centre half, wasn't he? And when he left, he could get the ball down on the floor and he could pass the ball. But then if I look on some of the Swansea fans, they reckon he can't even pass water. So it's one of them, isn't it? The 2 own goals, he's unlucky. He's trying to do his job. The first one, I think Davis is probably trying to cross that to to Jack Clarke, and then the second one, I mean, he has to slide in there because Nunes is in behind him for a tap in. So yeah, look, it's a sad day for Cam. He put a tweet out last night, and he doesn't do that very often, like sort of just apologise and then sort of fronting up. But yeah, look, excellent servant for Town, and yeah, at the double yesterday for us.
Yeah, definitely. Like you say, they were a bit. Both the goals were difficult ones. I mean, like you say, I think Davis was trying to cross the ball. Not sure why there. I really want to see Davis start taking. He picks up some really good positions. Now he's playing in that sort of inverted left. I wanted to see him getting some shots at goal rather than constantly trying to get the assist. And then yeah, you're right with Coaster's ball across the box. It's one of them ones that defenders absolutely hate trying to defend. So Coaster's done his bit, and unfortunately for them, it's gone into the back of the net. But obviously for us, it's put us on our way. The game before that was obviously the Watford game. Don't have to talk too much about that, but we will get into it. I mean, the big talking point from the game, Ian, was the Matthew Seward versus Jayden, the Barney on the football pitch. I mean, personally, I like to see a little bit of passion. They're both just trying to fight for the badge. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, I sit in the Sir Alf Ramsey, so I got a cracking view of it kicking off. And, to me, it says one thing. Matisiwa's got real passion. He doesn't want to lose the ball. And he's seen Jayden do one of these kind of drifting runs into the middle of the park where there were options. And that's one of the things I've been critical on before. Jayden is a really great player, lots of flicks, lots of clever bits, but he does need to work on his decision-making. I'm not saying his vision. I think his vision is okay, but his decision-making at times could be called into question. But that's what we want him to do, though. We want Jack Clarke to drift the ball across. Davis coming in as this like inverted left back creates the space for him to then run into. And I can see that McKenna's given both of them, the freedom to say, bring the ball across the back line. And when the opening's there, put a ball in. Clarke did it on Saturday with that beautifully placed shot into the right-hand corner. Jayden's done it a couple of times, coming across with those right foot lofted shots that he chooses for. So, yeah, I mean, Matisiwa obviously just got a bit fed up, and then Jayden gave him a bit of lip, and then it all started to kick off. And I was just looking at Dara O'Shea, who was like telling them both to wind their necks in. But, yeah, I mean, you don't want to see it, do you? But there are worse things to worry about, to be honest. And hopefully it's all put to bed and we won't see any more of that.
Yeah, you're right. I think McKenna, there was a little clip of him, wasn't it, after the game, telling Max they were in the change room, so obviously they'll sort it all out there. I think, from what I saw, I think Max might have been a little bit frustrated with how easy Jayden was going down. I mean, the ref wasn't really giving many fouls, was he, in the game? It was quite a hard game in terms of challenges, etc. So Jayden going down a little bit easier, but he was never going to get the free kick. So I think Maxi was a little bit frustrated with that. What did you think to it, Rich? A little bit of nothing, or did you like to see a little bit of passion?
I think one thing that I think, if Sam Morsey was captain of Town, that would never have happened, because you wouldn't be falling out with him, because you get probably a clip round the ear and he'd probably 2-foot you on the training ground, wouldn't he, or something like that, because I don't think there was any sort of messing about. I think it was something and nothing. You probably see that up and down the country, Luke, on the training ground probably every day. Yeah, it was on the pitch. It didn't look great, but it sort of got put to bed pretty quickly, didn't it, by Kieran? I don't mind it. I don't mind it. That doesn't really bother me. People say, "Oh yeah, is that their problems in the dressing room?" I think that's just professional sport at a high level. Two people who want to win and had a disagreement, and it weren't like David Batty, Graham Lassoe, and when they got scrapping for, I think that was Blackburn, wasn't it? They had a proper punch up, and Lee Bowyer and Kieran Dyer.
Kieran Dyer was the best one with the rich
shirt. That was a proper scrap. I mean, this was just a few words, wasn't it? So yeah, something and nothing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I always think about the Kieran Dyer one of our own, having a scrap with Lee Bowyer. That always brings a smile to my face. Right, something that obviously does mean from them two games is we are now unbeaten in 4. So the momentum is starting to build. I know obviously we're a bit frustrated not to get the win against Watford, but it does mean that we're 4 games unbeaten. Do you feel like, Ian, that things are starting to get back on track and we're really starting to build momentum now?
There's definite signs that the mechanics that McKenna has brought into this year are starting to stick, because that wasn't just a squad change. I mean, I think he's made some fairly fundamental changes to his approach to the game. His overall game management is still very familiar, the 65-minute sub mark, etc. and things. But and he seemed to have stuck with a 4-2-3-1 now. I think last season he did flip it a couple of times for different teams. Whether he's going to do that again, I don't know. But it's what I really need to see though is not just unbeaten runs, but I need to see clean sheets as well, because we still always look vulnerable at the back. I mean, Walt's put out a worldie of a save to put that ball onto the post. And what was great to see there is, Matty Seaver, I think, cleared it first, because they're the kind of ones that you get the tap in the second phase. And we're still vulnerable at second phase play as well, where the ball comes out, they're first to it. So we need to pick up the pace on winning possession back quickly, that transition I always mention, and look at really coming away with a clean sheet more than once would be kind of what I really want to see, because then we're already setting our stall out there by closing the door at our own goal before worrying about trying to get the lead back, etc.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I think we've got some real special players going forward, that match winners. You look at Jack Clarke, Jaden Philogene, Nunes. We Ageli, I know he hasn't done it for us, but I'm sure that's soon to come. So we've got some match winners going forward. So I think if our mentality is right, clean sheet, we know we can get the goal. And also when we go behind, especially away from home, it can then give the opposition something to hang on to. So they'll sort of play in their low blocks, etc. So I think that's definitely the main concern I probably have at this stage is the giving away soft goals. What do you think, Rich? Do you think we're backfiring, or is there still quite a few questions that need answering?
I mean, if you look at the promotion last time, Luke, when we got out of the division, we had quite a lot of 1-0 away wins, didn't we? I remember there was Bristol City, the Blackburn game, I remember, on Easter Friday. We didn't play well that day. We got a goal and then we hung on. So there's going to be tighter games as the season goes on, when it's 0-0 and you're just going to nick a 1-0 win. And we do need to be, I'd say we got a little bit of a soft underbelly at the minute. I'd still think, I was talking to a couple of my mates at half-time yesterday saying what we really need to do is come out after half-time. You need to nail them, don't you? Nail them, get that second goal, make it easy for yourself. But we started slowly, and we've started slowly quite a few times after half-time. And if you look at the game yesterday, probably Swansea's best spell is when they've scored that goal. And they're on top, Luke, when it's 1-0 then. And then we've got that second goal. But, look, there's still loads more to come from this team. I mean, we're not even probably hitting second gear and we're seventh. Just at the minute, we're going under the radar a little bit, Keep under that radar. You've got a lot of games now that builds up to Christmas and into the new year. And then when you've got the January window comes. So if we can just hang in that pack. But, I mean, what are we? 6 points off second place. And, I mean, Coventry aside, I haven't been impressed with anyone in this league. Their second place is up for grabs. And even at the minute, Coventry are, 11 points clear of us? We've got to play them twice in a short space of time in December. We've also got that Blackburn game in hand, which I know people keep saying. I think we're looking, aren't we, that we've got 3 points already, and we're thinking, that'll put us fourth. But football don't work like that, so that's going to be a tough game. But look, we're sitting in a good position. We could have been a few more points better off. Your Watford game on any other day, Luke, I think you win that game. Like, we missed a lot of chances there towards the end. I think another day, 9 times out of 10, you'd end up winning that game. But 7 points out of 9 this week, decent.
No, I agree. I think you're right. Any 9 times out of 10, we win that Watford game. I think McKenna said so himself. And we've got a real big spell obviously coming up over winter, as everyone does. But obviously we've got the extra game. The 2 Coventry games are going to be, I think, very important. Just I think also more of a, I don't know, from a fans' confident point of view, if we can beat Coventry on I think it's 6th of December, I believe, if we can beat Coventry, I think then the fans, because there's still a little bit of nervousness, I think with some of the fan base, so I think that might give them a little bit of we are back, we are on track to where we need to be. So obviously we've got the international break now. Dreaded another international break. They're coming around very, very fast at the minute, but after this one's done, we've got a big gap, which is nice. We can enjoy some festive football. The next game back is at Wrexham at home, who themselves are in a very good position. They're 5 unbeaten. Ian, what do we expect from the game? Is it going to be a Hollywood game? What is your score predictions?
So that's going to be an interesting one because we're going to have Kiefer Moore and Nathan Broadhead back at Portman Road. Broadie's on the bench the other day. We both know how dangerous those players are. That might work in our favour that we know how to also hopefully, nullify the threat that comes from both those guys. As long as we just treat it like any other game, and that's what Kieran McKenna is going to say, then we should have really no problem in matching them in every area of the park and should come away with a fairly comfortable win. I don't think the rest of the Wrexham team feel there's any requirement to lift the game because it's Ipswich. we're going to have Kiefer Moore and Brodie out there, but the rest of they're just going to see it again as trying to prove that they're worthy of being in the Championship. And we'll see what happens. I think it should be hopefully one of these days where the opportunities that come to the likes of Nunez and Jack Clarke, those opportunities are put away this time. Maybe they won't blast it 10 feet over the goal. They will be a bit more kind of composed and there won't be so much pressure to kind of get that win. And I think that's what happened at Watford. We needed to win and there was a lot of pressure on that. And I think that's why maybe people just wanted to get the ball in the back of the net and hit that ball as hard as they could. And consequently, we didn't get it in the net. So I'm fairly confident that Wrexham are going to have a bit of a welcome to the Portman Road and a baptism of fire. So I think looking at a 3-0 win to Ipswich.
Love that. I think that clean sheets will be important because it'll be a test because they play a little bit direct. They obviously got Kiefer Moore, who's link-up play with Josh Windass has been the main key for them this season. So I think they play a little bit more direct, which I think we can struggle against when especially on the counter, as we've seen, like against the likes of Charlton. So I think if we can keep that clean sheet against them, that'll kind of be again, probably McKenna will look at that and go, right, another challenge for this new group to sort of overcome. What are we thinking, Rich, against the Red Dragons? Are we thinking we're going to come away and with 3 points?
I think they're having a decent season, Wrexham. I think that look, I know like when they've what three promotions on the trot, and it's obviously now it's a step up in quality for players and the manager. I think I did say at the start of the season I didn't think Parkinson would make the end of the season, but he surprised me. He's doing quite well, but I think in the end, I think with the profile of Wrexham, I think they'll probably want a higher profile manager in the end. But taking nothing away from Phil Parkinson, he's done a brilliant job. And everyone will say, yeah, but they've spent some money. But that's football nowadays. You have to spend money if you're going to be successful. I like Lewis O'Brien, who plays for him in midfield. I think he's a very good player. He was at Forest, didn't hardly play there. Look, Kiefer Moore, we all know what he's about. Luke, we've had him at Town. Obviously, the second coming of him was a lot better than the first. But for me, stop the crosses for him. Stop the supply line. And I think you go a long way to sort of nullifying him. Be interesting to see who partners O'Shea with in that game because obviously he's quite physical. Do you bring Kipre back in? Possibly. I'm not sure. That'll obviously McKenna will he'll be thinking about that. But I'm going to go for a 1-0. I said we need some 1-0 victories here, and I think it's going to be a 1-0 Town victory.
Nice. I like that. I'll throw it back to you, Rich, just because you just mentioned about the partnership between O'Shea, Greaves, Kipre, who's going to come in. Was you surprised that Greaves started the game against Swansea?
Yeah. I looked at the lineup and there was 4 players that I thought would probably play anyway. Like Leif Davis, if he's fit, is going to play, and then you had Nunez, Taylor coming back in, which I was quite surprised the other night, really, that he didn't play him because I thought like Nunez was flying, Luke. I mean, you've got 2 goals, you've got man of the match, and then no, you sit out this one, and then obviously Jack Clarke. I think he was deserving of a start, especially away from home, because I don't think Philogene is as good away as he is at Portman Road. And then the 2 probably surprise ones were McAteer. I thought he'd done all right yesterday. Look, I think he's a little bit of the fall guy at the minute. You've always got to have someone who gets a bit of criticism. I didn't think he set the world alight yesterday, but I thought he put in a good shift down that right. Greaves, yeah, that was the one for me. I'm not sure why you want to keep changing your centre-back partnership. Maybe it depends who you're coming up against, but I wouldn't be surprised if Kipre's back in against Wrexham with sort of the physical presence of a Kiefer Moore. But I thought Greaves had a good game yesterday. I thought he played well, and I thought he played well when he came on the other night. Luke at left back, I loved him.
Flying left
up and
back.
down that wing. It was great. It was very good.
What do you think, Ian? Are we expecting many changes from the Swansea game to Wrexham?
No, I think what's really crucial here is, we always say defend from the front. So George Hurst is the first point of contact with the other team. But also what's been really good this year is George Hurst defending at the back as well. Against Cam Burgess came forward for a corner. Hurst beat him to the ball. And we know how good Burgess is in the air. So I think the key thing about Kiefer Moore, yes, it's going to be, who does O'Shea have working alongside him? But I also think it's going to be key that George Hurst is back there when we need him for those set plays, because Kiefer Moore, he's very good with his head. Not only has he got the height, but he's actually really good in the air as well. If George Hurst can defend as strongly as he has done so far this season, and it has been really, really good to see that. He's obviously been working on that part of his game. I think that we've got the pace in the transition that we can win those balls in our own area, maybe work on the distribution from the back, because as fans we all can see it down that right and left wing, but the ball just doesn't come out. So it's going to be nullify more, then force him into something else. And we know what Broadie want to do. He'll want to try and emulate what Jack Clarke does at the moment as well. And again, just keep them outside the box and let them try it from distance. We'll be okay. Josh Windass is the one maybe want to keep an eye on, because he looks like he's starting to come into his own again at Wrexham. It's taken him a little while, but he could be a player I've always admired when he was at Sheffield. So
Josh Windass, he reminds me of players that we sort of had in our double promotion, where they've just kind of not been journeymen, but they sort of worked around in the Football League a little bit, and they're having maybe a little bit of a later developer. So he's a talented player. Plays quite a lot like Connor Chaplin. He's
exactly.
a very similar player to him. So they'll be trying to keep him quiet, as well as big old Kiefer Moore. Right, guys, we're now on to our A to Z, and we are on the letter F. So, Ian, we'll start with you, please, mate. What is your letter F for Ipswich?
It's difficult. You look for players that begin with F. There's not that many, but there's one thing that always jumps out. And I think back to 1980s when we were kind of running to Europe, and I think it's probably the best we were everywhere as a club. And one thing, it really was a game changer, was the Flying Dutchman. So I'm going to go for the Flying Dutchman. Franz Tyson, Arnold Muren. There wasn't a great deal of continental players in English football at that point. We go back into like 1980, where Ossie Ardiles, Ricardo Villa came in at Tottenham, and there aren't a lot of names you can pick from that era. But Ipswich, this team under Bobby Robson that was built on a successful youth setup in 1975's team, moving forward into the late 70s, early 80s. Suddenly, these two players, Arnold Muir and Franz Tyson. Franz Tyson had a outstanding, first season with us. To go on to win the Writers' Award of the Year, etc. So I'm gonna say, for me, it's the Flying Dutchman, because I think it really did get the crowd, on their feet. We suddenly saw this really strong European football team, and it'd be great to have that again going forward. And we've got a Dutch player who could probably do that again this year. I don't know, but we'll see. Rich,
what about you, please, mate?
Unfortunately, I can't match the quality of Ian's F. This player played for Town in 05-06. Jason DeVos got injured, and we were looking for a centre half. And he played against Town. He played against Town for Bolton, and he played against Town for Charlton. He was a very good player for them. And I was at Loftus Road for his 45 minutes. That's all he played, Luke. Mark Fish. He came in. We had a lovely tangerine shirt then. I think we had Power Gen. We were sponsored. The season before, we'd missed out in the playoffs under Joe Royle. We probably should have gone up that season. West Ham beat us for the second year running, knocked us out. But Mark Fish came in, played 45 minutes, collided with Paul Furlong, hauled off at half-time, never to be seen again, done his cruciate ligament, and that was literally his career finished. So my F is Mark Fish.
Mark Fish. Little bit different between the two players there. I know I don't normally do A to Z, but a little tip to me old man. He talks about this a lot, and this is something associated with the club, and it's the FA Cup. So I'd like to just mention the FA Cup for the letter F. Obviously a very, very special trophy that we have won. So there's my little cheeky one. I don't normally do it, but FA Cup, to win the FA Cup, such a prestigious trophy. Right, now we're on to tweet of the week. So tweet of the week this week is to do with the game, and I think Ian, I think you mentioned it. It's to do with Christian Walton. First of all, it's his birthday today. It'll be by the time this goes out, it'll be yesterday's birthday. So a big happy birthday to Christian Walton. And the tweet reads, "What a effing save! What a great save, Ian, that was in a very tricky part of the game."
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he is massive. The guy is like, I think he said last week, he's 8'6", isn't he? And it's not just the fact that he's got the reach to do that, but yeah, when you're in the goal and the ball's headed in, it's the instinct and the ability to adapt that quickly and flash across and just palm it on. And for a second, I thought he was going to hit the post and just roll in, but again, luckily enough, it kept out of goal and we were able to clear it. But yeah, I mean, yeah, Waltz has had a bit of a torrid time at Ipswich, hasn't he? He came in, took him on a permanent from Brighton, then go out injured. Hladky comes in. Merritt says you keep your place. Start the Premier League season. Hladky's transfer. Oh, brilliant! Waltz, I'm going to be the team. Gets to start against Liverpool at home. And I thought, we lost 2-0, but he had a brilliant game, I thought. And then I was quite unlucky that when Muric was then bought, Waltz is probably scratching his head. And but he's been a consummate professional. He hasn't asked to leave the club whenever maybe. He's been there throughout, always ready to come in as required. And again, Alex has been a decent keeper, but he's out injured. Walt's going to take his opportunity, and quite rightfully is now there to be pushed out again. So let's hope he can get those clean sheets we mentioned earlier in the programme, just to reward him for his efforts. Yeah,
definitely. Little scenario question for you, Rich. Walton, obviously in goal. We go on a great, continue the unbeaten run. We're getting clean sheets left, right, and centre. Alex Palmer comes back fit. What do? Do you stick with Walton, or does Palmer come back into the team?
Well, it's literally it's role reversal, isn't it? When Hladky got in the team, and we all probably thought that he's just going to keep Walton's shirt warm, and then he was just great. And Walton, I think he only came on in that Huddersfield game, didn't he? Yeah. When we got promotion, literally right at the end of the game, and good man management, I think, by Kieran McKenna on there to he's still including him. It was a strange one yesterday, Luke, because obviously we were down the other end as the away fans, and I didn't even know that he'd saved it. I thought it's just hit the post, and then when I see it afterwards, I mean, we've had the game changer era at Town, and that for me was a game changer yesterday, because that goes in, it's 2-2, the game's up for grabs, and I mean, he had a little bit of luck, but you need a little bit of luck in football. But I think if we're playing well, we're winning games, we don't really need to change it. But then this is Kieran McKenna, and he does change things quite often, doesn't he? So I think Walton, Ian touched on that. He's just a consummate professional for me. Yeah. It must be a hard one when you're a second choice goalkeeper and you're doing your training in the week and then you're just sitting on the bench and you're not playing. So it shows that it's credit to him that he's kept himself in good condition. And I thought, he had a good game yesterday, and you could quite easily say that he, for that save, was man of the match.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you're right. I think he's a bit of role versus what's happened to him. So I think if Walton does well, he needs to keep the shirt. It would only be fair. Well done, guys. Thank you for a great conversation as always. I think we're starting to get back on track and a bit of momentum now. I'd just like to see these little mistakes and these little defensive areas sort of be eradicated. But it's all positive at Town. Thank you, everybody, for watching at home. Please like and subscribe, and please get involved in the comments below. Your letter F for Ipswich Town and your predictions for the upcoming game. Right, Rich, now we are seeing a more settled Championship League table. Who do we expect the three teams to be relegated?
Well, I think one of them's pretty nailed on, Luke. I think Sheffield Wednesday, I feel sorry for them. They've had the points deduction. I think it's a bigger issue for them. They're going to have a football club still, and their fans were quite happy with the points deduction. They'll come again, massive club. Oxford United, I think Gary Rowett, he's getting as much out of them as possible. I see a few Oxford fans the other day not too happy with him. I'm thinking, I'm not quite sure who you're going to attract to Oxford. So they're my second team to get relegated. And we all know who the third one is, Agent Manning, your job is done here. Return to base. Unfortunately, sacked yesterday. I think that's really harsh because I thought he's doing a tremendous job there. First time, I think, in the second tier, Luke, that a team has ever lost their first 7 home games. So another stat there for Norwich. Put that in your honours. I think it all depends who they pick as manager, but I think whoever comes in, you're still working with that same group of players, and I think it's going to be really difficult. I'd love to see Norwich go down. I'm not going to lie. So I've got to say the Canaries are going to be sampling League One and probably the likes of AFC Wimbledon and Rotherham away.
With winter fast approaching, who is on your Christmas list for January transfer window, Ian?
Joe, I mean, we've got Nunes, so why not go to Norwich and maybe get Sargent? That would be an obvious choice. A lot of people say, yeah, Josh Sargent. But I wasn't that impressed with him when he came down to Portman Road. And I think, I'm very loyal to George Hurst. So I think there's one area we might need to look to improve on. And that's more based on the fact it's an area where we're going to be getting a number of yellow cards and suspensions. It's an area that I've criticised in the past where we don't maybe dominate games, and that's in that defensive midfield area. And there are a couple of players in the Championship right now who are at teams you would expect to have done a lot better, the club-wise. And one of those is Shea Charles at Southampton. This guy, defensive midfield, he's only 22 years old, heavily recruited and touted to have had a move lined up for Leeds United when they got promoted. Didn't happen. Southampton hung on to him in this whole hope that they would get back into the Premiership, which is probably not going to happen. He is another product of that really successful Manchester City youth setup as well. So we've already seen some of the class that's come out of there that's come to us and has done really well at Portman Road. So I think that the training and the development they had at Manchester City really suits the way that Kieran McKenna likes to play. So for me, it's probably a name that isn't on everybody's lips, but certainly is worth having a look at. And he's never present for Southampton at the moment. Shea Charles, he would be the person I would be certainly looking at bringing on board at Portman Road in the January transfer window.